I saw so much blue in the chat, and I was like, oh my God, like all the moderators are like out in full force until I looked at it closer, and it's just J Meow,
That's
like
it. Yeah.
spamming and talking about pizza, and they're having like a huge pizza conversation.
Yeah. No, J Meow's a pizza Nazi. I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not.
No, I didn't know that actually.
No, huge pizza Nazi. He's not a fan of Missouri
Wow,
pizza at all. It's a thing. I don't know.
interesting.
I don't know. What's your favorite kind of pizza, Alec?
I like very spicy pizza.
Nice.
I actually recently discovered that the place near me will replace the sauce with hot sauce.
What?
And then I'll add chili flakes on top of that. It's terrible.
It's good going in, bad leaving.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Let's start the show. This is PSVR Gamescast Live, where we film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And God, it must be one of those days, but fuck me if I know which one it is. My name's Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole, and the guys to my right, the boys, guest hosting. Not the first time on the channel. I think he did a viewer takeover with us before. Alek Sinn from Sinn Studio, developers of Swordsman VR and all sorts of great PSVR goodness. What's going on, Alek?
Not much. You caught me by surprise today, actually. But I'm very excited to be here. I'm like a recurring star on this show.
Yeah,
at this point.
And that guy on the right-hand side of the screen is AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
What is up, Brian? What is up, Alec? So good to have you, my friend. I'm so glad you got to join us today. It is our pleasure indeed. Happy Monday, guys. And I know people aren't usually a fan of Mondays, but hopefully we can help your Monday suck just a little bit less.
You know who made my Monday suck just a little bit less? Jeppy Condow with the $5 tip says, how's it going? How's it going to you, Jeppy Condow?
What's up, Jeppy? Local homegrown game cat. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's in my neck of the woods.
Nice. I don't know who's in my neck of the woods. I keep all my doors and windows shut and go, if you're in my neck of the woods, fucking stay home. Also, Professor Lilith with the $5 tip says, August 29th, GameCat multiplayer is No Man's Sky. Survey for September 5th now open. Votes on Discord. Werewolves Within, Battle Wake, or Battle Zone. Wow, Battle Wake. God, I haven't played Battle Wake in so long.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Professor Lilith, for keeping the GameCat multiplayer shit going, because we dropped the ball on that big time. So you're the best. Thank you for the tip. We appreciate you. Guys, a little bit of housekeeping before we get the show rolling here. Make sure you join our Discord. The link's in the description. If you haven't already, click it. Join us. Be one with the cats. That's where this conversation happens 24/7. That's where you can get involved in those multiplayer meetups. That's where you can join us for Box VR every single night if you're so inclined. We really, really appreciate all you people over there hanging out, having fun, doing our thing. Also, don't forget that Jay Meow, who just tipped us, is also helping us get our website up and running, and this show is available on Spotify, also Apple Podcasts, and a bunch of other streaming services. So if you don't want to do this video format, don't worry, because we have it in audio podcast form. Jay Meow with the $5 tip says, it's very easy to be judgmental when you live in Massachusetts, where all the Italians and Greeks make great pizza. Very easy of you, Brian. Again, I feel like it's reverse racism. I'm like, there's got to be Italian and Greek places out here that just make fucking shitty pizza, right? It's got to be. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? You want to have an actual show today, or just now? I don't know.
I'm curious. I must have missed. I knew you guys were doing a website, but I must have missed the details on what you guys plan on doing with it. Like, what kind of stuff are people going to be able to expect on there?
It's going to be, for the most part, written, the written reviews with links to the video reviews, screenshots, all that stuff, just to kind of make it easier to consume for people who don't want to sit there and watch a whole video. But one of my favorite things that's going to be on the website is I like to write. I've been a writer my whole life, and just kind of going on these big long rants about my opinions on things, like editorials, is something that I feel like I don't get to do really all that much. Sometimes I get to do it here on GamesCast, but not in a really well thought out format. And so that's something I'm looking forward to doing. And of course, inviting developers on to write their own op-eds about things too. So we try to diversify and see what we can bring to the website that we don't bring to the YouTube channel.
Well, I'm sticking to the videos because nobody likes to read.
Very classy of you, AJ. Class act. That's why we keep you
Hey,
around.
everybody's
Read
thinking it.
headlines.
At least I got the guts to say it. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
All right.
Somebody
man.
just said, "Oh wait, Daddy Longlegs says I'm looking kind of thick."
Oh.
I don't know how to process that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a compliment, right?
That is
I think
definitely
so.
a compliment.
Well, no, it's a compliment if it's two C's.
Uh,
But
Yeah,
they meant like
that's what he meant.
literally thick.
I mean, it's possible that I have your window stretched horizontally, and that.
Oh, do you?
I mean, it's possible. I can double check. I don't want you being abnormally
No.
thick.
It looks cool. It looks all right.
All right. Hey, Jamie out with another $5 tip says, not all Italians and Greeks make great pizza, but all great pizza is made by Italians and Greeks. Also,
Yeah,
hi,
yeah.
Sin. I love Swordsman. He gives you a nice compliment. at the end.
Hey,
Nice. Hell
Swordsman
yeah,
loves you.
Swordsman is dope.
Hell yeah, guys! If you haven't jumped into Swordsman yet, definitely check it out. You said you did jump into our chat though during one of the last shows. Somebody was talking about buying Swordsman, and you were like, "Oh, it's about to go on sale." So
Yeah,
know
I actually don't know how ahead of time you guys know about Sony sales, so I didn't want to say anything in detail. But
So
yeah.
Sony
So-
calls me way ahead in advance. I know before you do. I know your game's
Do you?
going on sale before you do.
Before I do, yeah.
No, not really.
No, I don't.
But we did get a nice response from that. People saying, "Oh wow, the dude's like cannibalizing his own sales so that we can save a few bucks." And so like everyone thought that was really nice of you.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, the more people that can play it, the better. Honestly, at this point.
We also got Mick Coles with the £5 saying, just got back from my daughter's wedding. Congratulations to Mick Coles' wedding.
Congrats,
Hopefully you threw some
Coles.
shapes. And then he follows up says, I threw some shapes on the dance floor and now feel a little woozy. Now just chilling with the cats. Nice, man.
Nice,
Put your
man.
feet up, kick
Kick
back.
back. Relax.
Definitely a relaxing kind of day. I can feel it, man. I can feel it. But AJ, I feel like maybe we should get the show rolling here before it becomes 7 o'clock and we haven't talked about anything.
Well, while you're sitting back and relaxing, I'm all fired up, Brian. Because I actually want to know real quick as we get started. Are we going to start with the first question that's on the thing, Brian?
I don't know, man. What's the
Is
first
that still
question
part
on
of
the
it?
thing?
All right, we'll start with the news then.
All right.
Guys, so let's kick off the news. There is an Oculus Connect event October 28th. And I'm sad to report that we are now only covering Oculus. No, actually, the reason we are mentioning this is because the last Oculus Connect event had tons of PSVR games. I don't remember how many things they showcased, but there was actually 6 PSVR featured things like Saints and Sinners Aftershocks was unveiled, and there was a whole bunch of other games. So we're going to be keeping an eye out on that and seeing if we maybe see something else that might be coming our way. We know a couple games that are coming to PSVR are they're not exclusive to PlayStation VR. Stuff like Song in the Smoke. So who knows? Maybe we'll see some updates on games that we already know are coming, as well as some other maybe new announcements potentially.
Yeah, the rumor goes that we could very well be seeing Quest 3 there. Now, I think that
Is that the rumor?
I don't know, man. People talk. Sometimes I listen. I think this is one of those examples of somebody said something and I went, "That's a rumor," and because here's how much I care about following Quest rumors. You just heard exactly how much. I didn't do any research on this whatsoever. So the fact is like if we do hear about Quest 3, or if they reveal their launch plans for it, they reveal the hardware, whatever. I mean, how much do you think this affects Sony, if at all?
Well, go ahead, Alek.
It depends. It depends on what their launch window would look like. Yeah. On one hand, you could have a situation where, like, if the launch window is too close to the NGVR, then people will just be like, "I'm gonna hold out and wait for the NGVR." But then if it's too far ahead, like too early, if the Oculus Quest comes earlier, then people might jump on the Quest and maybe not jump back onto PlayStation VR. So it's like a really weird window, this whole thing.
I think if they announce a Quest 3, there will be riots in the streets. People were already a little upset about the Quest 2, except the Quest 2 is doing excellent. They've already, the numbers that we've seen, they've maybe sold like 4 million something already, I believe. I don't know for sure, but sounded like they had sold 4 million at this point. and that's a short amount of time to sell that many headsets.
Yeah.
And to me, I think it would be a good thing in some ways, because I like competition. I've said this a million times. Like, their VR is never going to grow, or if there aren't companies competing over trying to make the best headset at the most affordable price with the best games, most features, all that stuff. We win when there's more competition. So yeah, I don't think I would be blown away, absolutely shocked if they actually announced it. But as in terms of how would it affect Sony, bring it on, man. Like, competition is good.
Yeah, I think Sony's sort of taken the stance that they don't care at all what anybody else is doing as far as VR is concerned. Because if they did,
Yeah.
they would have had PSVR 2 out by now. It would have been out by this holiday season latest, right? Instead of possibly next holiday season. And that's just showing that they don't care, and not about VR, but about their competition. I think they know as well as anybody that Oculus looks like they're doing really well, with sales numbers and stuff. But when you look at the billions of gamers out there, that they're barely tapping the potential. And so I think Sony's going to, when they jump in with PSVR 2, they're going to make a bigger splash than Oculus ever did, or Sony ever did, or anybody else ever did. And so they kind of saying, oh, right now everyone's fighting over small potatoes. Why fight over that at all? We're just going to hold off until we're 100% ready. We're going to have some AAA games ready for launch, and man, we're just going to blow everybody out of the water. And this isn't competition at all. They're playing an entirely different game than Quest is. So I don't think it's going to make it one bit of difference to them. That was my long.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering how like, because AJ, you're saying that competition is good, but
Yeah.
like for the most part, Sony's probably got the hardware and everything fixed in. Even if they make a lot of changes, they're not going to be able to make changes necessarily to compete with what they'll find out Quest 3 is now, right? So
Right.
if by chance the Quest 3 is amazing and people prefer it on paper more than the PSVR 2, then that could be dangerous even. Because I want to see console VR succeed as well. Like that, just the fact that we have so much more power there. Obviously, Quest has its charm, but I wouldn't want to let go of all that extra potential, the PS5 and all that.
Yeah. Well, the more dangerous Quest is, I think it really makes Sony raise their game, and that's kind of what I mean by that. Is like the more competitive they are. Like, if they're not competitive at all, then Sony doesn't have to be as competitive or something. But I think, and when Brian, when you say they don't care, I agree in one way, but they care some. Like, let's be honest here, right? Like, they're not like, you don't think they care one bit or
about
that
the competition?
Do,
Absolutely not. Everything they've done so far has been like just kind of like giggling as they go. We're just going to release it when it's ready.
But they've likely learned some things from Quest. They've likely, they've learned some things. So like, to say that they just flat out don't care one bit, like, even if they don't care, they are still using it for research and development.
Sure.
Getting some ideas, taking some ideas, seeing the feedback, seeing what people really like, analyzing that data. So it's not about them caring more than like what the effect it actually directly has.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally see where you're coming from. I'm just saying, as far as like their launch plans, as far as what happens at the Oculus event, they don't care. That's as far as I meant with that. It's just a completely different ball game. It would be like when they released the PlayStation 5, as if Sony was paying attention to the mobile market and going, well, look at what they're doing on your phone. It's like, nope, there's just no interest over there whatsoever. They're doing their own thing. Sony's nailing what they do fucking amazingly, right? They're making like these amazing single player AAA games, big long adventures, and they're doing things that pretty much no one else in the console space is doing. And I see them continuing that trend into VR and just kind of, again, blowing away the competition. Let the third party developers take care of all that, like all the filler stuff. Sony's in their own little world, and that little world is fucking amazing. So I hope they just continue doing what they think is right, because I think they're on something. You
know what would really get Sony kind of caught is if Xbox decided to do VR.
Yeah,
Because now in that console split, that would be a whole new thing.
yeah. Phil Spencer has commented on that, and he just continues to say he doesn't see a vision, like a way of making VR fit into their ecosystem. So it kind of makes sense. They've got this huge focus on Game Pass and all sorts of other things that they have going, ways to monetize and things. So yeah, I don't know. I don't honestly see it either. But man, I would love some Forza Horizon in VR. That's for sure. Or some Halo or Gears of War or something. Yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah.
I'd be all for it. And again, more competition. But so in regards to, so let's jump to the next topic here. You mentioned a little bit about AAA devs and stuff. We recently had these PSVR 2 leaks, which it's just right now codenamed Next Gen VR, NGVR. What do you think this means for indie devs? And, since we happen to have an indie dev with us,
It's almost like these questions were tailor made for our guest host today. Almost.
Oh, they were.
almost as if.
Yeah.
We just would love to see, since we got you on, we'd love to hear your insights as to like what does obviously you've probably heard about the leaks and seen them, and we're just curious to get your take on it and what it means for you right now.
Yeah, I mean, there obviously just as a disclaimer, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, in no way, I mean, this is all speculative, and in no way could I
Right.
confirm. But assuming that they're true,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's black and white necessarily. I can't say that it's good or bad. Like in some ways, having more AAA games and studios involved means more people are going to come to VR, and the more people that come, the better it is for indie devs. Just to have the market grow in that way. But at the same time, the standards are going to go up a lot more. Even now, when there isn't as many AAA titles, the standards we could see are getting higher and higher constantly, just among the indies for the most part, even. And so if AAA studios start getting involved, I don't know. Maybe we'll see it in a situation where like the AAA standard isn't something that indie games are benchmarked against, which probably the most likely. That's what's happening with flat games, right? Like you consider an indie game, and you compare it against other indie games. I think for the most part it would be good though. I would love to see more people coming into VR and kind of seeing it go more mainstream. Like if you told people that all their favorite games were going to come to VR and they didn't have to pay a premium price for it, like that's such a huge deal.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I mean, I feel like I've gone on and on about it, probably at length. I think that obviously these hybrid games are certainly what's going to push VR forward in this next generation, and I think that's only because it's a transitional generation. It's a generation that where we're trying to get as many gamers into VR as possible, and we don't have the luxury yet of getting developers like Activision and EA or whoever to make a game built from the ground up with VR support. That's going to be something that they're only going to do with hybrid games, because they just can't afford to spend the millions and millions and millions of dollars to make AAA VR only games. And so I really do think that PSVR 2 is sort of the transitional generation where these things need to happen, right? We need to get AAA developers to make their hybrid games, and that will get more gamers in, and that will get more big developers into the VR gaming space. There's just no better way to do it, unfortunately. I know that everybody wants to have. They're like, oh, there's nothing better than games built from the ground up for VR. But my question for those people is, what games are you talking about, right? Like, what games? Like, are we talking about like Shadow Legend, where like Shadow Legend is, this small indie game, and it feels really good to play, and you can climb around, and all the weapons feel really good, and it's just. You feed dogs and and play fetch with the dog and feed horses. Like, it's just very VR stuff. But but then it's only like 4 hours long, and the combat kind of sucked, and it could have used some work in the storytelling department. I was like, is that what you consider like the best VR experience? Because then you kind of start losing me. I think AAA devs would be able to do those kind of things pretty easily with their AAA flat screen games, but then also deliver the full-fledged 30-hour experience that we're looking for.
Yeah, I will take. I've seen some people, some VR enthusiasts and stuff, show some concerns over AAA non-VR devs making stepping into the VR world, and I want to address this. I won't call them out by name because I have a problem with the idea. I don't have a problem with the person, but I really hate how I see a lot of VR enthusiasts, a lot of people that are really, deep into the ecosystem already, saying stuff like non-VR AAA devs don't deserve or shouldn't be able to step into the VR space. And to me, I think that's a garbage take. I think that is like to say that there are non-VR developers that can't or won't, be able to make good games or good experiences or immersive features, I think is short-sighted, incredibly short-sighted. And that, I think not every game in general is going to be a winner all the time. That's just how it is. Like, some people get it right, some people don't. And really, a lot of these developers that are stepping into VR for the first time, because I've had my complaints too. Stuff like the LA Noire VR case files, how everything was like, you press a button and it fades away, and then instead of getting to actually climb, like physically grab and climb stuff, it was like you hold on to like a pipe on the side of a building and you just teleport to the top. Yeah, I have a problem with those features for sure, and I understand those concerns, but I think I feel like there's no other way I think it's a healthy way for VR to grow and evolve organically, to have these developers try new things, take new risks. There's stuff like Hitman 3 that came out. People were really upset about the DualShock, but I think that was a limitation of the hardware, and I don't think that's going to be a problem this next gen coming up.
I have a theory that I'm kind of worried about. If true, the leak mentioned selective installs. I actually mentioned this. I commented this on one of the past gamecasts. If the selective install thing is true, and the idea is that you could install only the VR or only the non-VR part of a game, where that would make most sense is if you have a game that has VR as a bonus rather than built into the core of the entire game. So if you had a standard flat game with like a couple missions that happen to be in VR, because if you're going to do the whole game in VR in addition to flat, selective install doesn't really help at all at that point, because you still have to download all the maps, all the assets, everything has to be the same. The majority of the download is still there, and selective install almost doesn't even matter. And so what I'm wondering is is Sony doing selective install so they can encourage AAA devs to start adding VR to their games rather than building it natively alongside their games as like a transition? Like, hey, like EA, like dip your toes in VR, like add some VR modes to your IPs and see how it does, or see how it goes, because you're still getting the sales from the flat game and you don't have to put as much work or time into doing the full game. And then selective install comes into play and actually works. Because if that's not true, if AAA studios are going to do fully fleshed out VR experiences of their flat games, like alongside them, then you're not going to be using selective install. And selective install is only really reserved for the few games that will do VR as a bonus.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is just me not knowing how game development works. And so my question to you is, if you had a game where you were first person walking around and the flat screen mode, was just using the DualShock or DualSense, and you looked at a drawer and you hit X to open, and then the drawer just automatically opened. Or if you walk up to a ladder and you hit X and you just automatically climb the ladder. how much different is the game engine when you suddenly have two hands and you're reaching out and you're actually pulling that drawer open and taking out the thing that's inside of it, and then you walk up to the ladder and you have to climb it yourself. Like, how much different is the game coding? Would that have to be two separate engines, or is there something there that says, hey, the game understands that you're in VR and it just changes up the interactions?
Yeah, you'd still have the exact same game, and then maybe you'd add like a few megabytes.
Really?
That would basically be like the addition of motion controllers, all the inputs and the configs that you need for VR, the settings and things like that, and then the code for those interactions, like what happens when you press trigger and in VR, or you have to be hovering over a thing, and like all these all this code. The code side of it is super small in terms of storage space. So that's why I was concerned. I was like, the VR, like if you were going to do Skyrim VR or Skyrim non-VR, but you were going to sell it as one package, you wouldn't see, like if you were to do selective install, you wouldn't see much of a difference. And so it gets tricky like that. Like the actual VR mechanics is not taking up a lot of space. A lot of the space you're dedicating to textures and assets and the maps, like a lot of dense data, not so much the code.
Yes, I understand the concerns, because this is the thing. I've heard this has been the whole debate around this so far, and I'd love to get Alek's insight into this as well. But there's VR. This was the first gen of like mainstream VR in a way, and when it started, it was very much in its infancy, and there's a lot of stuff that we were just happy with, we were content with, being like, oh, this is just in VR. Stuff like, well, let me just say stuff like Resident Evil 7, which has a little bit more than just thing, but it doesn't have motion controls, right? It's got a different head aiming system and stuff. I've always said that I love like games that are just get just VR on them, but I prefer motion controls. I prefer things with more interactiveness to them. And that's why, while I love games like Resident Evil 7, and I can't wait to play Resident Evil Village on PSVR 2 eventually, I really hope the difference is that it's not just in VR with the DualSense. I hope that it's using the orbs, that there's things you can actually go in and interact with, kind of like how they're doing with the Resident Evil 4 remake on the Quest. That's my preference, of course, but I will sometimes, if it just can't work or for whatever reason, we've seen a lot of that happen this gen, where they couldn't do the full game, like Ace Combat 7 or something, where they couldn't do the full game. It sucked that it wasn't the full game, but it was still amazing and immersive and super fun to play. But yeah, long story short, I like VR modes and stuff, but I would absolutely, I think what's going to propel VR and use its full potential is adding that extra interactive stuff. Like No Man's Sky is a great example, where it has like all this stuff. Instead of pressing X to open the ship, now you pull on the door handle and stuff like that. That little extra immersive gameplay is important to me.
But Shades of Grey Matter just commented saying, I could see selective install making a difference if there are different assets for each version, so lower detail ones for VR. And they're right. Like if a dev is able to put in a lot of work into doing different levels of detail for textures and for the meshes, you could save a reasonable amount of space. That's assuming that they put that effort in. And I know AAA devs will definitely go that extra mile. I guess in that sense, it's more of a worry for indies. But how much you're going to be able to save, I mean, it depends on the scope of the game and what you have to actually put into it.
True. I guess if you're talking about like a huge open world game, then suddenly that's the kind of game that you do want a selective install, because if you do have two entirely separate sets of textures, this thing that wouldn't normally be that big of a deal, you wouldn't be saving that much space. Eventually, say, oh shit, there's different textures for every single piece of everything in the environment. It's like chopping the game down,
right,
not in half, but close. Real quick, Joey Betts sent us $5 tip, said Sin Studio, fire, and then follow it up with a $3 tip, says, what if AAA flat games did a VR $20 upgrade? So if you were already buying your $70 game, would you pay an extra $20 to be able to play it in PSVR 2? I mean, it depends on the game, right? I would have paid $100 no problem for Resident Evil 7, because I've played that game over and over. It's one of my favorite games of all time in VR. So it depends
That's
on
a
the
simple
game.
answer, man. It depends on the game. You have to look at what devs are currently doing with flat games from the PS4 to PS5 upgrade system. Some are doing a free upgrade. Some you have to do a deluxe edition. You have to have the deluxe edition to upgrade. Some are just doing like a separate purchase. That's how it's probably going to be. It's probably going to be all over the place. But obviously the hybrid games are probably just going to be the 60, $40 to $70 games or whatever, and then just have like a VR option that you can play it in, unless it's a standalone title.
Right. So something that came to mind after asking Alec if he'd be on the show today was this is I hope you have a good answer for this, Alec, because it's going to drive me crazy otherwise. I was thinking about studios like Vitruvius, who made Shadow Legend, and Sin Studio makes sense as well for this question. And so they're making games that are really good VR games. But what would be stopping if this Sony initiative was saying, hey, you know what, like, hybrid games are the future? What would keep these independent studios, the ones that are pushing VR forward, from saying, hey, we're also going to launch this on the flat screen, and we're going to take advantage of like what everyone else is doing, and we're going to make a bunch of money by selling our game on the flat screen, right? Like, is that and it would be way less fun, obviously, right? To be like, oh, I'm going to go pick up this steak and then throw it to the dog, and but it's all just tapping
Pushing
the X
a button.
button,
Yeah.
right? But it would reach a larger market, and they probably make a whole lot more money. So what would you ever consider doing that as Sin Studio?
We have considered doing that. The new project that we're working on, it has a name now, which you guys, will find out soon. But the code name for it was Hybrid, because originally that was the idea. This was before, the leak or any of that. So, and of course, in like the first instinct is there's a financial incentive for indies to do that because the flat market's just so much bigger. But assuming most indie studios in VR right now are relatively small, they have to be able to design a good game for VR and for non-VR, and then build it out to whatever scope that they had planned out to work well in both cases. And then when they do that and they release it, if it's a great VR game but not a great flat game, but they're one game, they're probably going to get more downloads from flat players, and their rating is going to get mostly influenced by flat players. So even if it's a great VR game, people who are going in to want to buy it for the VR section will still see one rating that flat gamers predominantly left behind. And so you have to be able to actually design a really good flat game and execute it, and design a really good VR game and execute it. And I just don't think that most indie devs in the VR space can, at least on a scope that can compete with other flat games. Because like, I remember I've heard it before. I don't remember from who. Somebody saying, why don't you make Swordsman a flat game? And that would be a terrible, terrible idea. Like, nobody was going to want to play that. Nobody's going to want to sit in an arena killing enemies with just by mashing buttons. It's just too small of a scope. And so I don't think indie devs, for the most part, can compete in the flat market. It's a big risk.
Yeah, it's a little crazy when we think of games like Saints and Sinners. We go, wow, it's a fucking amazing game, and I played the crap out of it and platinumed it, and couldn't get enough of it. And then I try to picture it on a flat screen and go, suddenly playing it on a flat screen, it becomes the world's most average game. But playing it
You might as
in
well
VR,
take Dying Light or something. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. So many better options. But I mean, actually, I would take Dead Island in VR if anybody out there is listening. Anybody? Nobody.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some examples, but it's going to be few and far between. Quite frankly, from what I've seen, I mean, just like Alex said, a lot of games that I've seen that have they launched as a VR game and then had a flat version become available. I can count on maybe one hand, not even using all my fingers, how many actually looked good on flat. And I think like the only one that comes to mind is like maybe the Persistence, and that's kind of like a standard first-person shooter kind of deal, so it translates well. But yeah, you take the VR out of a lot of these things, and I feel like you kill what makes it special in the first place. Meanwhile, I think you can take a lot of flat games, and I think more have a better chance of being enhanced with VR versus vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of just average flat games that would be amazing in VR. So that effect of why indies might be hesitant to do flat hybrids is like the opposite for indie flat devs. Like for them, it's like it could only. I mean, assuming the concept could work in VR well and they can execute it, like it's like the opposite incentive where there's almost no reason not to try and get into VR at that point.
So, especially early on, this first gen, I would 100% agree. What about the PS5? What about with the PS5? How many of these first gen VR limitations are eliminated, do you think, or are potentially going to be eliminated?
The biggest thing is the weight that's being lifted off the GPU. Like even something like Swordsman, the arenas are pretty small by design. Like we wanted to try and get detail in there, but it's not about scope because we just couldn't really render more than that. Like you have a certain amount of draw calls that you could do. The triangle count in the entire scene has to be below a certain amount. So like you're limited by how much work you can make the GPU do. And depending on what your idea is, like if you want to do a big scope project, like you want to do open world or anything like that, like you're very severely limited by the GPU. And so now with FSR and foveated rendering, a lot of weight is being lifted off the GPU to do the same amount or to output the same results that we're outputting now. And so all of this extra power is now available. And that's not even including the possibility of, Epic Games making Nanite work with VR in Unreal Engine 5 to just keep allowing this sort of performance ceiling to go higher. Like there's so much potential for bigger games, and it's almost like there's not going to be even an excuse at that point for devs to be constrained within the limitations that we see now. Like a lot of the projects that we see are small or short, and that's up by part because of the limitations. And so now we'll have a lot more freedom, where even indie devs could do open world games if they know how to utilize that technology. So, but then imagine what AAA studios could do, which is actually obviously I'm excited to have a lot of those, limitations lifted, but I'm wondering, like, imagine what AAA studios could do with all that power. Like that's kind of what they would want and need to execute their ideas on that scope, which is probably why Sony's so confident pushing that narrative of we're going to do AAA hybrids, if that's true, because they can now, right? It's a big leap.
Yeah, we had a lot of excuses last gen of like, oh, it could run on the Pro, but it couldn't run on a base PS4. Mm-hmm. So like, lots of stuff was cut, content or whatnot. So yeah, you were referencing the Epic Games, or I don't know if it was Epic Games, but it was like that Unreal 5 showcase. That was like one of the first things we saw, that tech demo from was that presented by Epic Games, or was that presented by? Okay, I thought so. Yeah. The triangles, the billions and gazillion triangles, so many triangles.
Yeah, that part. I mean, it doesn't work yet in VR in the preview version of Unreal 5, but they will most likely have it be functional when Unreal 5 releases officially next year.
Nice.
This is a question that I asked Gamerchick Tiff from Skydance in voice chat recently, and I always feel like it's very confrontational when I ask developers this question, but like I still need to ask. So take it in the way it's meant to be taken, please.
Okay.
And that's like, does this whole hybrid AAA thing, we're trying to make it easy on AAA developers to get their big games into VR, and suddenly the space that was sort of dominated by indie studios, like we was like, you guys have been the stars of the show for the last 5 years because you've been carrying the torch. There hasn't been much competition from the big boys, right? So you get more of a spotlight if you release Swordsman in VR. More people are going to pay attention to it than if you release it on a flat screen, because you just be lost in a sea of indies.
Yeah, exactly.
does this whole hybrid VR initiative thing with AAA developers getting their games easily into VR, is that a little scary? To be like, oh shit, next gen is going to be so much more competition.
Yeah, it is scary. Like right now, you could release something like Swordsman, and then it's kind of like a standard of where it's like it can be a go-to for sword fighting, for example. Like some people will prefer it over something like Gorn, where it's more arcadey or whatever. Like there's that room to find a home and to be like, okay, we're here and people play it and want to play it and whatever. But when you start getting games that are AAA, like if you had a AAA physics-based sword fighting game, uh, like even something like Chivalry 2 or something, it would be a lot harder. And I think at that point, we'd almost be forced to like clump up into niches that indie games tend to do, like be more experimental, be more edgy, try to break the rules and see how you can get attention that way. And like the way in which you can reach people starts to change. You can't just put a game out and be like, hey, we're a realistic sword fighting game. Like when you have AAA games like that, that means nothing. So in that way, it's very scary. But like I said earlier, having AAA studios involved, increasing the market size, also very good. And one thing that I guess is comforting is to know that we've at least, and I'm speaking just for us, Sin Studio, but we've been in it at least long enough that when the AAA studios come in, we're not completely oblivious to what's going on and how to do this. I mean, obviously, we're still learning, and VR in itself is still relatively young, but it feels a little bit better knowing that we've gotten some games out and we can kind of anticipate what we can do and we're not jumping like right now. If we were going to do an indie flat game for Steam or something, like what it would take for it to be successful is a lot higher, and it's true for any indie devs coming into the industry now, into the flat industry. Like they're going up against giants who have been doing this for decades, who have made every mistake possible. It just feels a little better knowing that we're making those mistakes now before it's like getting a head start. It's before they could get in, we're able to make those mistakes.
Right.
It's good to hear, because I mean, one of the things we've been saying forever is that it's been great watching studios like Sin Studio, like Endreams, like Vitruvius, the one I keep going back to. It's great to see them starting off as a couple people making games, and then gradually growing into bigger indie studios or single A studios. I mean, for the longest time, you were the only person at Sin Studio, right?
Yeah, for the first 3 games, it was mostly just me.
And how many people are working there now?
Now we're 7 full-time, and there's a bunch of people, contractors, that come and go on an as-needed basis.
That's insane.
It's huge, dude. Every day I wake up, I'm like, this can't be happening. I don't know what's going on.
I know, I'm waiting to hire
crazy.
AJ over here. I'm just waiting to hire my second person, man. Like that'll be the biggest day in the Without Parole history is when I can finally do that. Patreon.com/Without Parole Games, guys. Come and make it happen. But no, we're so proud of your studio and where you came from and where you're going. And that's why you're going to reveal your next game right now on the show, right? I know you like to talk.
It's called hybrid, Brian.
I know that you like to
listening?
talk about shit. I feel like if I just twist your arm a little bit, you'll be like, all right, I'll just do it now.
I told you, it's called hybrid.
Yeah. What more do you want?
No. You know what's funny? This happens every time. I sort of I was doing a live stream a while back, and somebody saw that. I saw a folder on my desktop, or not my desktop, in one of my folders called Hybrid, Project Hybrid or something. Wait, did I mention this to you guys already? I feel like I already mentioned this.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think
Somebody
so.
saw that on a live stream and called me out on it, and I was like, oh, that's just a prototype project that we make swordsman mechanics in before they make it into the real project. But really, that whole time it was the new game.
Wow.
No, but on a real note, though, we do have some interesting news on that coming very soon, and
Nice.
a lot of people will probably see it for the first time on your show, so it's pretty exciting.
I'm looking forward. The small amount that I know about it has me excited, so I can't wait to see an official reveal. MRI Gamer with the $5 tip says, "Hey Alec, always love when you're on the show. Excited for the physical release of the limited run games edition of Swordsman. Can we get a tease of the cover art if you can?"
So we actually just got the templates and stuff for that. So we're working on that now. We will show everybody what it looks like, and we're also now working on what's actually going to come with it. So instead of just doing it's a limited run physical collector's edition, we want to add something in the game that you can only get through that. Now the downside is you have to open it and put the CD in.
Not gonna
disc,
happen.
but
That's just gonna sit on my shelf sealed. I'll never get
It's
what
up
it
to them,
is.
right?
I will never open
Yeah.
it. No.
Yeah. No,
It still adds to it, I guess, in a way.
I'm gonna be first in line, man. Like I collect very few things these days, but PSVR games on limited run and Vita games from Play Asia. That's pretty much the only thing I collect anymore. Look, we got another tip in the chat from Sin Studio. What are you doing, man?
Oh, what's up, Sin?
Shout
out to Sin Studio.
With the Canadian Monopoly money, $10 tip says hashtag hire AJ. Thanks, man.
Oh man,
Appreciate
there's
it.
somebody. The Game Cat's out of the glue bagger.
Yeah.
Says $10 to hire AJ? Question mark.
Man,
Well,
Oh man.
market
AJ does
is
have
really, you got to be competitive, man. You got to have competitive prices in order to succeed.
I've got a chart on my wall of what $10 gets me from AJ. I'll tell you, it's not nearly as much as I need right now.
Dave Station was $15, so I had to lower the price a little bit.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he's so sloppy. Sorry, Miles Dyer with the 9 quid says all the love for the PSVR without Parole community. All the love right back to you, Miles Dyer, who made I believe his debut on Friday's show. Yeah, Friday's show. Thank you, Miles, for filling in. Guys, I think we had a few more PSVR 2 topics to cover before we move on to 20 questions, and we do have a viewer takeover question from Donnie the Gamecat over on Discord. Right, hashtag viewer takeover. If PSVR 2 comes out as late as Q3 2022, now he says as late as. Meanwhile, I'm like, that sounds reasonable. Do you believe we will have PSVR 1 games up until PSVR 2 and beyond, or are we going to get a long dry spell?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That's
Yeah,
tough.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this year has already been, this summer has been fantastic. But leading up to this summer was kind of brutal because there was like nothing. We relied on a lot of games getting updates. We had some that were like Hitman 3 and Doom 3 were big hitters. A couple small good indie ones like 1976, Alvo. But there were so long stretches in between, and I think this is why the AAA approach works, because when, like, as much as I love indie games and stuff, I think when you get people's attention is by having name brand recognition and other things like that, and that gets people. And then people come into VR and then they say, well, that was cool, but that was just VR tacked on. And they go, well, look at this. This Swordsman isn't a DualShock controller. I can actually use the moves, and I get to physically punch people, throw them up in the air in slow motion, and let them land on my sword. So I think it's a great introduction. But man, to answer the question, I hope so. I hope there are games, because the games are the one thing that is working really well right now. But that's still the problem, is they're not selling more headsets, and they need a solution to continue selling headsets. And I just don't feel like I feel like all their focus is going to be on PSVR 2 in the meantime. So I just don't know. After January, after December 31st, I big question mark. No idea.
I wouldn't do it. Yeah. Even when PSVR 2 comes out, any devs that are releasing games, even like in the first 6 months after that, I think it would be smart to have, if possible, backwards compatibility. But
Yeah.
releasing on PS4 right before launch, or even in the 4, 5, 6 months leading up to it, would be.
It's like a death sentence. I think now,
it's bad.
right now, you're not going to get sales. Like, you got so lucky getting Swordsman out when you did, because I feel like that was the last big flow. That was like the last big boost of headset sales when like Saints and Sinners, Vader Immortal, a lot of these big huge titles came out and did a lot, and you saw a lot of success in that time as well.
Yeah.
But even like Fract, even Arashi, even some of these bigger games that have come out in recent time, I don't feel like they're getting their full. The platform is getting weaker. The games are strong, are really strong right now, but it needs a strong platform for the developers to get the most profits. I mean, if you look at like sales on the Quest, I'm sure it's something like 5 times as much as what you get on a PSVR release right now. And I hate to say that, but it's just, people have been ready for next gen VR with PSVR for a long time. That's what the mainstream is waiting for. And when it happens, I think Sony's going to go huge with it. Personally, I don't think there's maybe going to be a lot of releases leading up to then. Maybe some big ones, maybe 1 or 2 big ones, mostly small ones. But I think PSVR 2 is going to have a huge, huge launch.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think PSVR 2 is going to have a huge launch. To the detriment of people buying a PlayStation VR headset right now, I feel bad for saying this, but I kind of think that if you were planning on having your game come out anytime from now until the time PSVR 2 launches, either just move your project over there and get ready for an awesome launch, or as Alex said, be ready to have a PSVR 2 version ready. Sorry,
go ahead.
I just don't think anything other than huge name like titles, like things with recognizable IPs attached to them, are seeing huge sales anymore. I could probably list a bunch of titles in my head that I think probably sold well, but I don't have any facts to back that up. And then a bunch of games that should have sold well that I know didn't, because I have the facts to back that up. And so but if you're buying a PlayStation VR headset right now, you have 5 years of games to get caught up on. So I don't feel all that bad for you if you're just jumping in now. The new games aren't going to come out, but you have 5 years of amazing games to get caught up on at a super discounted price, because there's always sales going on in the PlayStation Store. So I don't feel too bad about all that.
No, you're huge. You have the best library at the cheapest price right now. So the headset still has tons of value. I just feel bad for developers that are releasing like large scope games right now. But I know that some of them are doing okay as well. Like there's some life. The problem that I see is that when it comes to like the marketing and stuff, it is up to the developers to market. Alek does really well keeping his game in the top 10 downloads every month, and I really believe a lot of that has to do because he's updating the game and doing these huge updates, and it brings more visibility. And he's made this strong community around Swordsman. He's got a big community behind it. So not every dev, if devs think that they can just push out a game and have a YouTube trailer on the PlayStation site that's going to sell their game, that's not going to be enough. I know that for a fact.
The interesting thing is like we're in a weird position with Swordsman. Like it's been on the top 10 most months since it came out, and we've seen the typical trajectory of a game's life cycle, but slightly different because we're constantly pushing updates out. And because we've been in that sort of top 10 range, I can infer what anybody who's not on it is making, or how much revenue they're generating, and just like trying to figure out, like, there's some big games that aren't on that list, who have more employees than we do, and it's like it's kind of scary at this point that what it means to be in the top 10 isn't what it would have meant even a year ago.
Right.
So if somebody's putting out a game and they just assume that that whole mentality of if you build it they'll come, they don't. I mean, they don't know where to go. Why would they come, right? It's tough. And on top of that, even if you market it, it has to be marketable. Like some games, it depends what the concept is, and it's rough, man.
As much as I love Trebuchet, it's like I don't know how you can spend years and years and years of your life making a game like Winds and Leaves and go, yeah, this is going to be sustainable. Like not on a platform that doesn't have that many users. You need to kind of focus on stuff that's going to be a little bit bigger. So it makes me sad to see somebody that's doing stuff that I love. I love like super independent, super artistic titles, and I see them being like, I don't know about the sales, but I know based on the number of people who have watched my review, which is almost nobody, that it's not, it can't, there's no way in hell it's doing well. Somebody commented on PSVR this week and said, "I've never heard of Arashi until today." I was like, "Wait, where have you been for the last 3 weeks?" Like, it's not
Right.
even things like that are way more mainstream, like Arashi, or should be way more mainstream, aren't getting the attention that they need.
Yeah. Well, here's the good news, guys, is that a lot of these developers, especially the ones creating games right now, there's no way in hell, unless it's like a really unique case, there's no way in hell a lot of these games aren't going to get a PSVR 2 version. I firmly believe, what was it, June of 2020, something like that, June or August of 2020, every game had to be compatible and be able to run on PS5 moving forward. And that's why we saw a lot of games just randomly disappear from the store and things like that. But yeah, I think a lot of these games will get a second chance. I think it's good. Like Alex said, the best thing you can do right now, if you have a game, is to release it and then already start working on your PSVR 2 version and get the game. Use that extra time to get the game fully optimized. Let it reach its full potential with the support of the PS5 hardware and PSVR 2 hardware.
It's kind of tough though, because these guys, like, even when PSVR 2 releases, there's going to be a
lot of
presumably
games.
a nice lineup of launch games, launch titles, first party titles, all kinds of nice stuff, and that's huge. The console is going to be amazing at that point. But devs that are making games now for release on PSVR 1 with a PSVR 2 port, or even a PSVR 2 specific launch with backwards compatibility or whatever the case, should account for the standard being much higher, because it's going to be so easy to get lost if you're dealing with first party titles or titles that maybe studios like Servios have been working on for like a year or two specifically for that hardware. It's gonna be hard. They might get overshadowed by big titles if they release roughly at the same time, which ironically happens to be the best time, right as the console launches. So it's gonna be, for developers, it's gonna be a really wild ride. For everybody else, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I think for that, I think you're right. It's going to be tougher because you're going to have a lot of system selling AAA games and stuff that are going to be launching with it. But I still think whether you benefit, I think whether you benefit in the beginning or later on down the line, there's going to be way more headsets sold, way more active player base, and that's the thing that's killing the first headset right now, is the active user base is dwindling, like, compared to what it used to be. And I think the more active, stronger active player base you have, the better chance you have for more people picking up, especially, like, let's say you do get overshadowed at launch. Well, when your game goes on sale again and people see it, then that's another chance for people to look into it again. Brian using his little, like, views and stuff as a barometer. How many, like, I'm sure you see a big boost in views every time a game is on sale.
Sometimes it depends on the game. Like, again, Wins and Leaves. I could say that game's going to go on sale for $7, and that review is still going to see nothing because unfortunately, a title called Wins and Leaves, it just doesn't have that appeal. But you're right. You're right.
It's marketable too.
Right. Absolutely. Guys, real quick, we got 2 tips to take care of. et.2k9.now. $10 tip says, I'm excited to see dev tools evolving to the point where it levels the playing field. Hopefully documentation and techniques and skill sharing continues or increases so games keep getting better. I send a little heart over to Alek. Is this so? I know when PSVR first launched, I think this is what he's referencing, especially people like Chandana Ekanayake over Outer Loop Games is always referring to how Sony's got like this stable of PSVR developers that all work together, like they help each other out. And I don't know if that's something you've experienced, Alek. You weren't really there. Were you there? No, you weren't really there at launch, right? Because Wraith came out a little bit later than that. Have you ever experienced any of this?
No, that's weird that you even say that. I have no idea. Like the console process, we had to like figure out from scratch, and every conceivable problem we ran into. There was like no place to really go. You can't just Google the solution. All that stuff's proprietary. There's like forums, obviously, and support threads, but in those cases, you're waiting for responses, like official responses, and it wasn't very smooth. So that's interesting. I had no idea. But I mean, in terms of what the tip also said, like just the amount of tools that we have now that where it doesn't even matter that you're an indie dev, you can compete to some extent depending on what how you scope your game with bigger titles. And a good example is like, or at least I know this isn't necessarily a quality issue, but like if you look at Swordsman and consider, okay, well, it's in the top 10 downloads consistently, and then what games that are bigger aren't. And so what does that say about the contrast between what indie devs could do and what AAA devs could do? Like Vader Immortal, for example. If Vader Immortal isn't on the top 10, but Swordsman is, it doesn't necessarily mean that Swordsman's better,
Right.
but it's nice to see that it's possible for indie devs to keep up in that way.
Yeah.
Some things are just a mystery altogether. Drunken bar fight is always there. So there's that.
Right.
Not to talk trash about drunken bar fight, but
And for the record,
yeah.
I would take, there was, I referenced there was a debate about should AAA non-VR devs get into the VR space. And that is, when you mention some of these games, like it makes me realize, yes, like I would take 100, I would take one Ace Combat 7 limited VR mode over 1,000 Space Explorer VRs any day.
I don't think anybody's against you on that. Space Explorer was trash.
Some people are. You'd be surprised. I think the worst AAA VR game is probably still going to be better than the worst indie game VR game. I mean, because it's just but it's still, that's a little off topic. That's a little referring back to earlier. But I had to get that out there before it was too late.
We also got Dutch DJ with the 10 euros. Didn't say anything, but thank you so much for supporting the channel. Name's not familiar, so welcome to the channel if you're new.
That's my dude, man. What up, Dutch DJ?
Maybe it's your dude.
Now we can afford AJ.
That's my dude.
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing your dude over to the show.
He's from the underground, yo.
Yeah, well, luckily I've got a hose over here. We can hose him off and clean him up and make him presentable with the rest of the cats. Anybody who comes from the underground, get in line. I got a hose. We also got... Oh man, so sorry about the thumbnails you've had to endure up until now, Dutch DJ. Tax refund. The Decalogue defines right and wrong. GameCat with a $5 tip says, "Sorry, Brian." And then quotes, "Here's to my sweet Satan. I want to live it backwards like the Zepp, whose power is Satan. He will give those with him 666." And then sends, along with the satanic message, sends some love to Alek.
Yes.
I'm okay with the satanic message, man. I'm always bouncing back and forth with religions and shit. It's like I'm exploring every possibility. So who knows, man? Maybe you're pointing me in the right direction.
I told somebody Resident Evil 7 is your religion the other day.
Yeah, man. Resident Evil 7 can do no wrong. I'm in the cult. Guys, this has been a great discussion on PSVR 2, and I loved every second of it. But we end every show with a game of 20 questions. Now, Alek, I know you develop VR games. You develop PlayStation VR games, which means you probably don't have time to play a ton of PlayStation VR games. Have you been playing anything recently?
Yes, but I can't. Well, ironically, yes.
Twist
but
his arm.
Usually,
He'll tell us.
Both Brian and I perked up a little bit when he said that.
No. Usually, it's I try to play as much games that will. For research, and I can't even say much because then you guys will be able to deduce what we're working on.
Wow.
Nice. But yeah, no, I in regards to how I'll fare in this game, I don't know.
All right.
You might have to carry the team.
You've been playing Dream Borders in Dreams. I understand.
Yeah.
Let's get a couple more tips here before we start the game. Scott, Future Past, Scott Jesco, PSN, Harry Fella, PSVR Gamecat for Life with the $5 says, "Last night of my holiday, so here's some pizza money." Pizza quid. Oh yeah, and Fract is amazing. I got my t-shirt on.
Scott Jestico is the best Alvo player that has never played Alvo, just for the record.
Is that a thing? Yeah?
Yeah, it's totally a thing.
Practice amazing. I got 9th in the world on a track on Synth Riders. It was easy, but yay. Okay, well, congratulations, man. It's like small steps. I remember like making progress in Beat Saber. That was huge for me. We got Niles Ryan, the Game Feline, with the $5 tip. Rayo says, I swear I'm going to get Arashi and Winds and Leaves just as soon as I can stop playing Dirt Rally VR. It's so good. Agreed. I had my time with Dirt Rally, and it was so good. Probably need to get back to that at some point. Oh shit! Apparently I missed a donation. Thank you, Jay Meow, for shooting me text during the stream. Wait, no, no. Jay,
I see one from Snafu for $5 that says, so I started playing Cyberpunk 2077, thumbs up, and my overwhelming feeling is that I'm only playing a preview for an amazing VR game. Frustrating. Thoughts? I think Cyberpunk 2077, depending on how they support the game moving forward, 9 times out of 10, most games typically abandon their game after it fails. But every now and then you have, I think they would have to pull a Hello Games like how they did with No Man's Sky, and really revamp the game, do a lot of work to it, finish it, deliver the thing that they originally promised. And if they do that and the game comes back to life, then they will absolutely add a VR mode. But it all depends on whether they follow through with that or not.
I feel like that's a game where you could just like slap it into VR and make sure the bugs don't ruin the game, and you'd be like, fine, it's good enough, and be like, fuck, man, this is one of the best VR games we've ever played. It's like fucking awesome. We also got Zachary Croissant with $5 tip. Didn't say anything, but man, that's a nice looking croissant. Thank you so much.
Looking tasty there, Zach. Looking tasty.
All right, guys, we gotta get this game of 20 questions started.
Yeah, this one's gonna be hard for Alec. It's gonna be hard for everyone, but
wait.
No, it's especially gonna be hard for Alec.
Why'd you turn on hard mode? Like when
I seriously doubt that he has played this or knows what it is, but we'll try.
I can't believe you didn't custom.
I watch your guys' channels. Maybe I've seen
it. This is okay.
All right, I'm gonna really need everybody's help. We're gonna really need everyone's help in the chat. Then make sure. Oh, but look at that, dude! Sin Studio dropping swordsman keys in the chat. Look at you multitasking. So yeah, guys, make sure if you haven't played this game before, I mean, it's 20 questions. We have 20 yes or no questions. Figure out what PlayStation VR game AJ is thinking about, and that's kind of it. We got 6 minutes up on the clock. On your market, set, go. Alec, you want to kick off the questions?
I had a few that I came up with earlier. You start though. Let me try and figure out a good one. Yeah, just you start.
Does it have aim support?
No.
No aim.
Did it release in the last year?
No.
Okay.
Not 2021. Can you also play it on the flat screen?
No.
Okay, not a hybrid game.
It's not a PSVR 2 game, no. That is correct.
Does it have any multiplayer, including co-op?
It does not have any multiplayer.
All right, now you're speaking my language. Would you call this a narrative-driven game?
Absolutely not.
Oh, wow.
It's probably like could be a...
Should we narrow down the genre, Alec?
And for the record, I've done Swordsman before, guys. So that was.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was like, would he pull one of those on me right now?
Right.
Because I'm not thinking about those games.
I hope it's a Sin Studio game. I really do. I
don't think so.
I mean, so we eliminated Perfect Sniper because that's super narrative driven. But so we could be on. It can't be Warzone because that has aim support.
But so does
Wraith also does, yeah. Oh man, we've eliminated almost everything.
I wouldn't make it that easy. Come on.
Unless he's doing Swordsman again.
No, it's not Swordsman again. I promise.
Let's narrow down the genre. What can we figure out? Is it a wave shooter?
Not a wave shooter.
Damn. Actually, that's good. There's too many wave shooters. It'd be hard to figure out.
Hold on. This is kind of a dumb question. Is it an indie
Brian,
game?
It is an indie game. Are you keeping track, Brian?
Am I keeping track of the one thing that you're supposed to be keeping track of? The number of questions.
We're on number 8 now. We're
3,
number 8
4,
now.
5, 6. Yeah, that was the 7th question. So this will be 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it is an indie game. That's what we figured out.
Yes,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
it's an indie game.
absolutely an indie game.
Shout out to Dragon Guy 76 with the $2 tip. No message, just a cute emoji. So, thank you. Okay.
Well, okay, but he said I'm not gonna get it, which is a hint on its own. It's probably some like obscure.
AJ's
weird
terrible,
title.
man. He's trying to throw us off the scent. It's probably super easy, and he's just trying to throw
It's
you
probably
off.
Swordsman.
Right? He wouldn't do that to you. Like then everybody would be like, "Wow, AJ's such a dick," and like he wouldn't risk his
No, but he
reputation.
wants to win, right? That's
I don't know, man. I don't know. What would you
No
risk to
aim.
win? That's a good question.
I just picked a game. It's the name of the game.
Okay.
You're supposed to pick one. I just picked one.
Has this developer made more than one PSVR game?
No.
Okay, so solo game.
I haven't even gotten the controller yet.
Well, it's not AIM, so we don't care.
Does it have smooth or free locomotion? Can you move in the game by controlling where you're going? And it's not like a rails thing or a stationary thing.
I would say no. Like you mean like does it have like full locomotion or something?
Well, that or teleportation. Can you decide
Yeah.
where to go freely?
Sort of, not really.
Okay. So you probably navigate like maybe
Node to node, maybe, right?
one section at a time. Yeah, node to node or something.
No, it's not node. It's not teleport. It's not full locomotion.
But you kind of.
But there is a little bit of
rails don't
movement.
count. there is.
It kind of is rails. Yeah, I would say kind of rails.
Kind
Oh,
of
wait a minute.
rails. All right, so everybody,
Because you were specifically asking that. So it's kind of like rails.
that eliminates a ton of stuff.
Kind of like rails, though.
No.
That's a weird answer.
Right.
Kind of like rails. Wait,
That was number 9.
do you think it could be like a third-person game, and he's saying kind of like rails because the camera movement isn't something you control, but it kind of follows the character?
No, I think you're getting way too deep into it.
Yeah, I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is. Ooh. Okay, so is this We said it's not a wave shooter. Is it a shooter?
No, not a shooter. That's number 10.
All right, that's big
Oh,
too.
could be. Does it have puzzles?
There's no puzzles in this.
Oh wow.
No puzzles, not narrative driven. It's not a shooter.
Wait, if you're not solving puzzles or shooting, what else could you be doing? You could be.
Is it a rhythm game?
No, not. But it kind of falls into that category a little bit. But no, not really. I mean, in a way, yes. In a way, no.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. So kind of rhythm, but not really.
I would say no. It's not a rhythm game. No.
Okay, that eliminates a ton because Res Infinite is obviously rhythm. Pistol Whip obviously rhythm.
They said kind of rhythm game.
I would say no. Technically, by the book, no, it's not a rhythm game.
But you can do something with rhythm in it.
We have 10 seconds left.
Oh my god.
It's not a shooter.
Is it a platformer?
It's not a platformer.
Oh, he hesitated.
It's not a platformer.
Okay, we just ran out of time, so we officially died.
Oh man.
We lost
You
the
got,
game.
you got a couple questions left. I'll let you get a couple. I've seen it in the chat. I've seen somebody say it already,
Okay.
and I've seen some more hints around it.
Well, I mean, I wanted to go towards something like Until You Fall, but that can't be it based on the answers you've given us. Which would make sense with the Electronauts has no locomotion, so that doesn't help us either.
Electronauts, I think, is a kind of a rhythm game. Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Okay, wait. Is it a good game?
I think it's good. I think it is a good game. Yeah. 13. I've seen it in the chat, but yeah, man. You I don't know what.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say.
I'm okay losing. We ran out of time. I
All right.
feel like I did my best.
It is, as Nick Yulo has said a million times in the chat, it is Vertigo Home. It's not a toy.
Okay.
Vertigo Home is the name of the game. I knew that'd be a tough one. I was, you abandon the genres and stuff pretty quick.
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
not a genres. You abandoned the controllers, and I was gonna give you a hint and say, it kind of uses the DualShock, but not really. And I was hoping that you'd maybe get to like the head movement.
Yeah.
It's a game, Alec. I don't know if I answered this properly, but it's a game where you tilt your head left and right to steer, and it's like on rails, and
Right,
it's like
right.
it's like a trippy experience.
Yeah.
No, yeah. If you said yes, it would have confused me more.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I was gonna. I honestly, I probably wouldn't get Vertigo home no matter what questions we asked. To be honest with you,
I've never heard of it.
unless we
It
said
was
is
my
it,
first. It was the first review I ever did for PSVR without Parole.
it was where you lost all credibility from day one.
Hey, some people like that game.
No, yes, you did.
Luju, the Underground Game Cat in the chat says, "I love Vertigo Home." There you go.
Yeah, I'm biased.
There's one.
Zachary Croissant with the $2 tip says, Sin, explain romantic scissors to everyone.
Oh yeah, I knew that was red. I think I have explained this before, but I will explain it. When I was making the thumbnail for the official gameplay trailer for Swordsman, I was doing it on a live stream, and so I was like posing the two guys and trying to make it look badass. But and the picture, for anybody who remembers, is like two guys with swords clashing in the middle of the screen, like in an X. But the original pose that I was kind of like trying to get them into, somebody screenshotted it when it was like half done, and it looked really romantic. And that kind of blew up into a meme.
Nice. We also got MRI Gamer with the $5 tip says, how about any info on the Swordsman Halloween event, or at least pimp it before you go?
Ooh.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna do something for Halloween.
Yes.
We're still kind of figuring it out. It's most likely going to be a boss fight with a new boss weapon, and maybe some other items.
I love the last one. You decorated the lobby, and you had that was the cursed axe update, and yeah, that was awesome. That was a lot of fun. I think you introduced zombies around that time too, right?
We did Horde. Yeah, it was a little bit late. I think we hit it just after Halloween.
Oh,
but I mean, the idea now is like whenever we do factions or boss fights like this, where they get their own map, to kind of throw away what we've done, or throw away what we did at the beginning, and add something interesting there. Like in Claws, the environment was falling apart. Maybe we could add verticality or some interesting new things, so that it's not just a reskin. And this was actually something that you guys were talking about on this channel, that kind of pushed us in that direction, and people really liked it. And of course, it's a very valid point,
Castlevania
So
with
it
a
should be
whip.
interesting.
Castlevania themed with a whip. Let's do this,
Yeah.
Alec. I got you on voice.
No
I
pressure.
got you. What is a man?
Alec, thank you so much, man, for hanging out with us and talking about all sorts of speculation about PSVR 2 and what it's going to mean next gen. This is something that we talk about pretty much nonstop, and it's always nice seeing your name in the chat when we're talking about it. So it's even nicer to have you here chiming in with your opinion. We also, is this a new name? Slyword at 251, the basement switch flipping Gamecat with the 5 quid. It says, this channel is the goddamn greatest of all time. Hashtag hire AJ, hashtag Quake VR, hashtag everybody buy Zing, hashtag when is the Swordsman VR sale? Thank you so much, Slyword.
251 was on our last shout out, Brian.
He was
Last Friday, homie.
Yeah, that's right. I've been kind of weirdly under the weather for the last week, so everything's a blur.
We figured out, that's the one that flips the switch.
Yeah, finally.
Lloyd got replaced.
Finally, by somebody who actually does some shit around here. Nice. Alec, thank you so much, man. And
sorry, I just want to quickly point out, I don't know when the Swordsman's, or I can't say when the Swordsman sale is, but also Twitch of the single player Gamecat, I'm off to try really hard to find some fun in Swordsman, and they were talking earlier about not being able to, and that's okay. You don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, you already bought it.
We'll get you next time. Yeah.
Twitch is notorious, man.
Trying.
Twitch is notorious. Twitcher bought the game, has been checking it out every few updates, and just not loving it. But you know what? It's every game is not for everybody, and that is, like you said, it's 100% fine. I love that this community is able to disagree maturely and say like, oh man, I fucking hated this game, and like explain why and talk about it. And I go, I love this game, blah, blah, blah. But everybody's still on the same page. We all get to talk about games. Dude, fighting and debating and arguing about video games is one of my favorite pastimes. And so that's why I love this community so much, because we can do it without acting like children. So so thank you, Twitcher.
Quit being a dick.
Yeah.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
but also it's also like we're kind of working for the person who likes the game the least, right? Because they're the best benchmark for how it could improve the most. So it's definitely helpful.
I don't think there's any helping Twitcher. So
I'll keep trying.
All right, you guys, that's going to do it for another episode of PSVR Gamescast Live. Don't forget we got to thank so many people, man, real quick, and that is Miles Dyer for taking care of our Instagram account. We also got to thank Jay Meow for making sure that our channel is getting up and running, and for putting all this stuff up on podcast services. So make sure you check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, plenty of other places as well. I'll figure out those eventually. Don't forget that everything runs smoothly around here because of our mods. Not only they keep taking care of the YouTube channel, but taking care of Discord. So go check out our Discord. Click the link in the description below. But also, shout out to Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry, who makes sure that this show has timestamps about 6 to 12 hours after it airs. We appreciate you, because there's no way I'd be watching every single episode back and timestamping it. So you're the best. Thank you so much. And anyone else who's ever supported the channel, shout out to you. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody who donated today. And of course, thank you to everybody who sat back, watched the show, didn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there. Numbers don't lie. We love you so very much. Can I cue the cat?
Cue the cat, Brian, because it's time to release the kitten. Justin Cassidy, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Mark Pringles, good to see you. Emily, back to the hashtag Game Kitten, says, cue the pink elephant. Sergeant Frosty, I know this stream was your childhood. Thank you for joining. GC13 Die Pepsi Cat, when are you coming on? We got to get her on next. Miles Dyer, thank you so much, man. LC2552 Beats, the musical Game Cat, keeping it down in the country town in the UK. Guy Son, fist bump to you. Lethal Weasel, West, what up, homie? Gabriel 004, the lights me out, Game Cat. Andrew Bailey, with whatever he's doing over there. Magic the Game Cat. Gundy, Weiss das Gamecat. I love that name. I haven't heard that in forever. I love it. Justin Cassidy, yes. Left to Rot. Hopefully Brian does a stream on that. I can't wait to see it.
Yes, totally.
Daniel Williams, good to see you as well. Nair, later to yourself. Thank you for joining. Zachary Croissant, I'm going to eat you. Secrets of, thank you so much. Slyword 251, the basement switch flipping Game Cat. Keep up the great work. Steve IRE, thumbs up. Oh, he gave a middle finger. I thought that was a thumbs up. Blue Jew, the underground Game Cat, elite name spot in the house. See you later as well. Little pizza emoji.
Yes, that sounds so good.
He said, sorry, wrong emoji. Oh, that's great. Anakazi, guys, have a wonderful rest of the week. We will see you on Wednesday. Let's do this.
Yo, we need a meow from Sin.
Meow. I love hearing AJ go off at the end of these. It's always so good.
Thank you, man.